So much of the conversation at a very non-technical level, when people are saying AI, at least over the last year plus, has been they're referencing generative AI. How should healthcare systems look at that in particular, the risks of generative AI, and then attempt to mitigate them, whether we're talking about in an operational sense or in the clinical space?
For me, I feel like one of the biggest things is around the data privacy. Because this is so new, I feel like we are probably in the first inning of a 9-inning game. It's so early
Sure.
on. And the potential of the AI models exposing the PHI, like nobody really talks about this. It's like, oh yeah, we have trained the AI models on this data, but it's like, okay, what about where is this data and what's the potential of actually exposing this, right? So that for me, it's a huge unknown from a data security and privacy standpoint. The other thing is the actual data, the whole black box of the unknown training data that a lot of these models are based on. And so, for example, let's say the training data was based on population in cities, right? And very metro area, and then you're using the same solution in rural areas. Now, wouldn't that be more biased? You know what I mean? So, like those kind of things in terms of using the same model that was trained on a very different geographic location, and just the bias and suggestions that it would give you on a population in a rural area. So I think just that's just an example, but again, we don't know what data was used for training the model, so that's a risk, and the bias that it may have in terms of providing you the support and the suggestions. The other thing I feel like that's missing around this is the whole testing and validation of the AI models. Again, we just talked about a lot of times we don't even know the models, but let's say we actually knew the models that they were using. It was transparent to us and it was being shared. I feel like there has to be a lot of conversation in terms of processes. What are you doing as an organization to test these models that your AI solution is using, right? So, and a lot of times they may not share that information because it's intellectual property or whatever the case may be, but then now that's a risk for you. So I think that most organizations that I have talked to so far don't have the methodology or processes in place to test and validate these AI models used by all these different solutions, right? To make sure and ensure the accuracy.